Chodesh Tov. Happy new moon in Leo and the new month of Av. And I'm coming to you from Jerusalem. So today, as I was watching the sun moving through the sky, just thinking about the moon being like right next to the sun. That's the reason why we can't see the moon on Rosh Chodesh. And just like receiving the rays of the sun as it's like coming through the moon. So it's like receiving the moon through the sun rays. And it's been a heat wave over here, so it's really the heart of summer. And a lot of things happen this month, so let's jump in. On Rosh Chodesh is the anniversary of Aaron's death. I'm just thinking about Aaron, right? Like he was Moshe's right-hand man, his brother. He was the high priest in the Mishkan in the desert. And you know, every time there's a crisis in the desert, the Jewish people go straight to Moshe and Aaron to ask God to intervene on their behalf. And so even though the Jewish people have witnessed these miracles being taken out of Egypt, and even though they've had this mass divine revelation of God, like anytime there's a crisis, they still go into Moshe and Aaron to ask for them to intervene on their behalf. And so it's like Moshe and Aaron can be seen almost like these intermediaries. And so just imagine what that was like for Aaron to die, right? Like no more intermediaries, no more Rebbe, guru, energy healer, intuitive, like no intermediaries, gone. And then we move to the 9th of Av, which is like the most tragic day in the Jewish calendar. It's the day where lots of really terrible things have happened to the Jewish people throughout the years. Two of the biggest events is the destruction of both the first and second temple that happened on this day. And to just think of that physical place of worship that's been like destroyed. And from there just like sent into exile. Like the sages say that the temples were destroyed because of sinat chinam, which is baseless hatred. So it's like, wow, okay, you can have your place of worship where you come and you bring the sacrifices and you do the rituals and the ceremonies and the prayers, but like, how are you treating each other? What's going on in your relationships? Right? And there was just like such a gap and dissonance between those two things. And if you think about a world where there are multiple gods and there's things that you want, so you would go to a god and you would worship that god so that you can get the things that you want, right? But that is not what the Jewish temple was about or is about. So from that destruction, the sages say that the Mashiach, the Messiah, is born on Tisha B'Av also, right? And then from the 9th of Av, we move to the 16th of Av, which is Tu B'Av, which is around the full moon. And the sages say that Tu B'Av is one of the happiest days in the Jewish calendar, just like Yom Kippur. And Tu B'Av is like the Jewish love day, and I want to make a video just about Tu B'Av. But it's like this renewal of hope of something really different. It's a renewal of intimacy, of partnership, of relationship. And so this whole movement throughout this month, like the death of any intermediaries, and then the death and destruction of any physical place of worship, right? Everything that you thought you knew about serving this God or worshipping a God is like destroyed. You're left in like this chaos and confusion and exile, and like within that is born also the redemption and the Mashiach, the Messiah, right? And it's like this movement to knowing what is true intimacy, what it is to be in correct relationship, and that has to mirror in our human relationships, right? Like it's not enough to just have your ceremony and prayer if like your relationships are not reflecting this kind, compassionate, loving, reliable, trustworthy, loving God. So it's interesting that Av in Hebrew is also means father, and right, it's like this deconditioning process that we can go through from all the things that have been put on us through our conditioning. You know, all of our trauma or attachment wounding and stuff, the ways in which, you know, our needs have not been met by our biological parents with no one to blame, just, right? Things are just passed on from generation to generation. And this movement between like that to like, what is it to be in relationship with like the Father of the universe, like the creator of the world, who really is attuned to me, who knows everything about me, who wants what's best for me, who is wanting to be in partnership with me. And so this movement in this month is like kind of this deconditioning and breaking down process to really understand what it is to be in relationship with that kind of God. So the tribe that is associated with this month is Shimon. The root of Shimon, Simeon, is Shema, which is listening, hearing. And so that is the sense that is going through a refinement this month. And you can also break down Shimon to Shem Avon. So Shem means name, and Avon is transgression. So in my understanding of what Avon type of transgression is you know, when inside you can like hear something, or you have a feeling about something, but then like you've got all these other thoughts that come over to kind of like override that, to kind of like justify something else or convince you of something else. But like you have a feeling underneath that of like an impulse towards, you know, a certain direction or action, or just a feeling, a gut feeling about something. But then you come and you say like, oh, but doesn't really make sense, or it's not so logical, or, you know, it's not so much thing that's kind of done in the society, so I don't know, right? And then we like don't do that thing because we listen to that, and then afterwards you're like, oh man, because I had that before, like I really had that feeling before, and like now, and I didn't listen to it, right? Another example of Avon would be like when we are in a relationship with someone, or in some kind of relational exchange with someone, and they can be saying all the right words and all the right things, and everything on the outside can seem like it's, you know, there's no reason to like outward reason to kind of like be like something's wrong, but like inside you have this feeling that's like something feels off here, but you like convince yourself because like, oh, but they said that, and he did that, and she did that, but we didn't, and so we override that internal, you know, communication and listening. And often it's because we want something else also, right? Like we want to be in relationship, we want intimacy, we want connection, and so we'll be like, something's not feeling right to me right now, but I also want this thing, so I'm gonna like do it anyway, right? Avon. There can also be like maybe a sense of urgency. It's like you have this internal feeling or knowing about something, but like there's other things that you also want, and then you have this like sense of urgency or sense of like, but it needs to be done this way in at this timing, and so like I'm gonna go do it, I'm gonna go make it happen, and like we get stuck in like the mind trying to do something. But what would actually happen if we really listened to that and we really trusted that? It's like listening is this place of deep receptivity and also trust. Emunah. Trust. Because we can't have it all figured out. Like we, in our cognitive minds and our conscious minds, could not ever make the plan, work out in the most perfect way. Like it's like even if I want something and I think I know how to get it, or I want to try make a plan to try get that thing that I want, we don't have that bigger picture, but there's like something that's like really, like, can I trust that something deeper is really guiding me, and to be able to trust that place inside of me to really lead me through life. I really love how the biblical ancient allocation of these tribal lands in the land of Israel just has such a beautiful image of like Shimon is like surrounded completely by Yehuda, and it's the only tribe where another tribe completely surrounds it on all sides. And it's interesting because Shimon happens in Av, which is the astrological sign of Leo, which is the lion, and Yehuda, who surrounds Shimon, is also associated with the lion. And it says that the Mashiach, the Messiah, is going to come through the lineage of Yehuda, and the Mashiach is also associated with a lion. And Yehuda is associated with the month of Aries, and the story that we tell in that month is the Exodus, the story of redemption and being taken out of Egypt into the desert and then into the land of Israel. And what we're working on in that month is this like refinement in our speaking and this freedom in our speech and in our throats. And so to just think about like just that image of like Shimon, like that refinement of like really being able to listen and being surrounded then by that ability to listen and then to speak, right? And how these children of Leah then come and meet the area of Benjamin, who comes from Rachel, and Jerusalem is right there where the temple is. It's really coming down to building a temple inside of our hearts so that we may truly listen, and that listening is happening on many different levels, right? It's not just about what someone's saying. It's like Grandmother Willow in Pocahontas says it the best of, listen with your heart, you will understand. So it is my hope and prayer that as we build this temple and this mikdash, Ta'asu lachem mikdash, in our hearts and in our beings, that we may really know what it is to be in correct relationship with the creator of the world, with the Father, with the Av of the world. That we may be in divine partnership and intimacy with God. That may then be reflected also on our outsides in a way that is pure and true, and for the best possible life of enjoyment and fun and pleasure and correct relationship. With all beings, with the earth and everything around us. So, thank you for listening. And yeah, I'm just thinking now of like organic intelligence and how really this is the movement in that. And organic intelligence is a neurobiological approach to trauma, based off of complex systems, and founded by Steve Hoskinson. And I plan on talking a lot more about it on this channel, so stay tuned. And you know, just thinking about it now, about this OI, when I say OI I mean organic intelligence, is this map on the leading edge of like trauma therapy, of movement from like chaos to resilience to deep trust. And what that is, not from a cognitive thought level, but from like a biological felt sense level. And yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, and I'm looking forward to sharing more with you soon. Chodesh Tov.